So hi, welcome to the Flare's workshop. So what is Flare? Flare is a blockchain for data. What does that mean? Well, it means that you got your ordinary blockchain that can do all these important, necessary security-related stuff. But what you also get is an additional data sources directly on chain. So it's not your everyday multi-sig pushing data on chain. It's a properly secured data when you know that the whole validator set is making sure that the data you get on chain is secure and exactly what you need. So what you can do with Flare, well, you built on an EVM chain. So EVM chain that has all the nice things you're used to building with, all the toolings, and you can do it with data. So we offer two different prices. The first one is 7K price for the best utilization of Flare's enshrined pricing oracles, together with layer 0 V2 or with any other cross-chain connectivity that we also offer. So use a price you can get every second on every block, and do something with it, not just on one chain, but do it cross-chain. Use liquidity somewhere else. Use the tokens deployed somewhere else. Buy something somewhere else, use information for Bitcoin, and do this. And secondly, we also have a second track, which is the most innovative application using Flare's data protocols. So apart from just pricing oracles, we also offer additional data connectivity oracles when you can observe what's happening on other chains without any additional interaction from other chains. So you can observe non-smart chains. You can observe Bitcoin payment. You can observe XRP ledger payments. You can observe what's happening on Dogecoin. And in that case, you can also apply for that track. Okay, so what's specific with Flare? We offer native data acquisition protocols. So those are enshrined directly into the chain. What does that mean? Well, we have three different things you can work on this time. So the first one is the FTSO. This is Flare Time Series Oracle. So for probabilistic data, we offer price updates every block. So that means that we have 19 different price feeds, currently only crypto, when you can get a price update every block. And those price updates are directly published on chain. You don't have to query them, you don't have to request them, you don't have to pay anything for them. You just read them from a contract, and we'll see how easy it is to do that in the following few minutes in the workshop. And all this is operated by a staked network of validators. So you know that the prices are always correct and can't be manipulated by people that want to gamble your system when you have a perpetual DEX or when you have some future set up. And secondly, we have Flare State Connector and Data Connector, which allows you to connect to additional data sources. What does that mean? Well, that means that you can have a deterministic off-chain attestations. You can attest to data being presented on another blockchain. You can attest that Bitcoin transaction has happened. More specifically, you can attest that in a specific time range, Bitcoin transaction hasn't happened. So you can know that the payment that was supposed to be made for something wasn't made. You can know that if somebody is building a swap, when you have one swap on Bitcoin side and one swap on Sepolia or Ethereum side, you know that one person did not complete their leg of transaction. And again, this is enshrined directly into the protocol level. So you don't have to trust a multi-sig built on top of this. You know that this is secured by the same validators that are building the blocks. And thirdly, we've recently integrated with layer 0. So what that means that you get the whole mesh of all other EVM compatible networks directly on Flare chain, and combining the first two oracles. So giving you immediate pricing data and giving you data about the state of other chains, about what's happening in the rest of the ecosystem. You can easily build a bunch of dApps that are integrating cross-chain, moving data around, getting to the best liquidity positions, getting to the best information sources, executing this on a smart chain, and then going whenever you want. All this properly secured directly on a validator level. Okay. So just a few things important for the hackathon. So Flare is an EVM layer 1 Oracle network. What does EVM layer 1 means? Well, you get all the nice things you're used to when building on Ethereum or on Polygon or any other chains. So we're proof of stake, you get the security, block time is very quick, so you know that you'll get a block in the next second or so, so you don't have to wait for a while, you don't have to wait for the transaction to happen, you can do things immediately. And combining this with fast pricing updates, you know that you can execute quick trades and you can be there on time. So you're not waiting neither for an old price, neither for stale state. The transaction fees are low due to the efficiency on the network level, and you can use pretty much any tooling you want. So we offered pre-prepared hard hat and foundry toolsets So you can start with a starter pack that has all the RPCs already configured, all the faucets that you would need, all the necessary block scout tools, so you can easily interact with the whole ecosystem without having to change anything. If you know Solidity, and if you know some TypeScript or some Rust, it's easy to start, you don't have to change anything. And as an EVM chain, you get pretty much all the goodies that can exist on such chains. So ERC20 tokens natively supported. Web3 authentication directly available. So we have also, from the DeFi perspective, multiple NFT marketplaces, tooling, periphery support, all the SDKs you would need, and stuff like this. So it's easy to start. And again, a large DeFi, account abstraction support, stablecoins, you know it. This is Flare. So you have oracles, you have data directly on chain, it's quick, and you don't have to change your tooling. And now, let's take a look how exactly these things work. Okay, so if you want to build on this, the first bet would be you come to our booth, or you scan this QR code. We have a starter pack, which we're going to start building on from now, and we have a whole set of developer documentation specifically tailored to start building. So, okay, let's wait so that people sync. Okay, so we'll be starting from this starter pack. Why is starter pack useful? So we'll be starting from the starter pack. Why is it useful? Well, it's a simple hard hat project with all the necessary stuff already configured. So if you've seen the hard hat system at some point, we have all the necessary contracts set up, all the private keys you can just import from the environment file, and all the Ether scans are already in, so you don't have to configure anything. If you start running into any problems, hitting the RPC a bit too hard, just visit us at the booth. We'll give you API keys so you can just knock yourself out and do whatever you want with the RPCs. Okay, so we start with the starter pack that importantly already has the Flare's periphery contracts directly in. So all the interfaces you're going to see, everything you need, it's already in. It's type safe, it's made in Solidity, so you can easily call them. You don't have to hard code anything. So you can just easily start. Okay, and let's take a look at the first one. So it's the flare.flare.network. So this is the entry point for documentation, and the first one would be the FTSO v2. So that's the most important thing, the pricing oracle, getting prices quickly and efficiently on chain. And let's just, and what you want to see is the systems explorer. So for each FTSO, so we currently offer 19 different prices, and for each FTSO, it's easy to see for each data source, it's easy to see what the prices are. So the prices are updated on a block level. We offer a bunch of nice visualizations when you can check how this is getting updated. So okay, here the shape is a bit jagged because of the issues with the amount of pixels. But in this way, you have a fast update every block, and you know that this is getting correctly processed by the data. Okay, so these are fast updates, and each of these feeds is associated with a specific feed ID. Although this thing here might look a bit scary, it's basically just a hex encoded BTC/USD. So that means that we can easily extend feeds to pretty much any feed you want. So you can combine feeds, you can add new feeds, you can add new feeds that are not necessarily dollar denominated, but can be stablecoin denominated. And we've seen in the past that stablecoins might be pegged, so you want to know what exactly is the feed you're looking at. Okay, so that's the data we'll be observing, and let's just take a look at how this data looks directly from the contract. Okay, so this is a simple contract interacting with the FTSO v2. Is it big enough? Can you see it at the back? Okay, so there's a library which I've copied in here just so we can see it. In a real world use case, you would, or on a hackathon, you would just import it from the registry. So you don't want to deal with all the necessary bureaucracy. So what do we do? If you want to get a feed ID, you just supply a name, and we properly encode it to bytes, so you get this feed ID that we've seen in the beginning. And getting the feeds, well, you just have to query the correct contract. And how do you get the correct contract? Well, on-chain, we always maintain a simple contract we deem an entry point to the whole Flare's ecosystem. So what you do, you first get to the Flare contract registry that is always at a fixed address on all the networks where Flare operates. So Flare is composed of testnet and of a mainnet, and we try to keep the addresses for both testnet and mainnets the same so that it's easily to port data between those two. Okay, you get the Flare contract registry, you get the fast updater contract by the address, and then you can work on. And what do you do? Well, since the data is available off-chain, you don't have to do any pre-calculations. You don't have to request it. You don't have to pay for it. The only thing you need to do is you just say FTSO v2 fetch current feeds. That's it. And you provide some feed indices. So each feed is associated with a specific index. So indices are hard-coded here. Flare has 0 index, Bitcoin has index 2, and Ethereum has index 9. But you don't want to query the feeds by indices. You want to query them by name. So how would you do that? Well, we also provide a configuration contract in the middle that just acts as a simple mapping between feed names that you would use encoded and feed IDs on the fast update contract. So how would you do this? Here is another piece of Solidity code when you can get feed values by name. And what do you do? Well, you just say, okay, I want to get this, I want to get some strings, so I'm just going to supply you XRP, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, whatever, and I want to get the pricing for each of those feeds. So what do I really get? I get the values, so I get the price of this specific asset at this specific point. I get the decimals, because the feeds can vary by quite a lot. We provide the feed value denominated in some decimals. So for Bitcoin, you get a bit less decimals. For more volatile tokens, you get a bit more decimals. And you get a timestamp. This is the latest update for this specific feed. Why do you need this? Because sometimes you might get a few feed updates in the same block, or you might get 2 blocks in the same timestamp. So it's not only important to know that you're in the correct block, it's important to also know that the feed was correctly updated. And since all the feeds are updated in batches every block, you also get a timestamp just to have some sort of a sanity check to know what it's doing. Okay. And then there's just a matter of a simple conversion. So we use the pre-provided library to convert the feed. So we take a look at the configuration file, get the feed ID, and use it here. And after that, we just fetch all of them and return them. And how do you use this on-chain or off-chain? Well, simply, you just create a simple hard hat script to deploy it. And let's just check it right now. We'll deploy this on Constant 2 and also directly validate the smart contract so we can immediately interact with it. It's deployed here. And in a second, the contract's verified. Okay, let's open it. Okay, so we got the contract, and it's easy to then just get into the correct set, to get to the correct method and say, okay, I want to know Bitcoin price, and here it is. So, might not be very visible. Yeah, and there it is. So, Bitcoin up to 2 decimals right now. So that's the important stuff. So you get it immediately as a view method, no checking needed. Okay, those are the fast updates. Important if you want to do something DeFi related. Know what the price is. Arbitrage an existing DEX. Know that if you have a perpetual futures, you want to know that the price is correct. If you see somebody providing liquidity, you can use the on-chain oracle to know if the liquidity is mercenary or not. Is it doing something good? Is the price being moved too much and you want to offset this? This is the baseline price oracle you can use. Okay, that's the first thing. So connecting to external world and getting the pricing data. And the second thing you can do on Flare is get data from external data sources. So you can get data from external chains and connect them. Let me just open this one here. And to do this, we use Flare Data Connector. So what you do, you request an attestation about something that's happening somewhere else. And the easiest thing to check is just go to Sepolia, take an old block, take a random transaction, take an old block, pick a transaction, let's say this one, and say, okay, so we have a transaction, it's made quite a lot of events, and it did some contract call. Why is that useful? When you're observing external networks, you want to not just know that something has happened, you want to be pretty sure that you go deep and you can extract a lot of information. So what state connector does, data connector does, it allows you to see into this specific transaction and prove all this data on Flare. So this is just a nice Swagger UX. We also provide the same tooling as with the FTSO to just do this directly from the JavaScript. So what I'm saying here is, okay, go to EVM chain, go to Sepolia, and give me information about this transaction. So I get some additional response, which is, again, a bit small, but I get a bunch of information about this transaction that can be then proven on-chain. And what do I get? I get the block number, the timestamp, the source address, and I also get all the events that were emitted inside. So do I want to know if a specific Uniswap swap has been made? Yep, I can see this. Do I want to know if an ERC20 token was transferred? Yep, I can see this. Do I want to know if some liquidation was triggered because of some specific condition? Yep, I can see this. I can take this information and I can push it to Flare. And then on Flare, I have this information from other chains, information provided by layer 0, and then I can execute pretty much anything. Okay, so that's on EVM, but apart from the smart chains, when you can easily do this using existing bridges, we can also do this for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and XRP Ledger, and we can do this in the same way. So we take a transaction, and we can check that this specific transaction has had some effect, has created something, has transferred value, and had a specific transaction identifier identified by the operator and opcode. So what does that mean? That means that you can have a simple payment method when you can say, okay, pay me on Bitcoin, and State Connector can safely transfer this directly to Flare, and then it's again up to you. Use this information, do something with it. And that's the connectivity part. So you have a smart chain with EVM support. You have real-time pricing with a lot of assets. You have real-time data about what's happening on other chains. And as a bonus, you have layer 0 integrating Flare with all the other EVM chains that are compatible. So what that gives you secure data, that gives you connectivity to other chains, and that gives you the ability to use this hackathon to build something amazing with price data sources, combine this with other chains, and get some bounties not just from us, but also from layer 0, and also from pretty much any other network that is participating. So that's it. That's Flare. So getting your data in a secure manner, knowing that it's there, and acting upon it directly and immediately. Okay, that's it. Any questions? If you want to find us, we're on the booth on the far side. Come to us and see us.